Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we welcome all the devotees for the second part of text 3. So in the previous section we discussed what is bhakti, what is not bhakti. Then we discussed how to perform bhakti and why to perform bhakti, who can perform bhakti, and how and where we can perform bhakti. That is the foundational concepts. Now after that we have the 6 favorable principles. Previously in the second verse we discussed 6 unfavorable principles. And surrender says, the principle of surrender says that anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. Accept what is anukul and reject what is pratikul. So keeping that in mind, now we have this 6 favorable principles, which is anukul, favorable to the bhakti. And keeping that in mind, we go to the next point, that is A, B, C, D for bhakti as per text 3. So we have A for attitude, B for behavior, C for character, and D for direction. In these 4 categories, we will divide the 6 favorable principles. So attitude for bhakti, because if you remember, in the preface we discussed, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude. Again, a very, very important line. Advancement in Krishna consciousness does not depend upon anything else. Upon the wealth, upon the education, upon the family background, upon your communication skills. No. Upon any other material resources. We just read in the previous slides, bhakti is for that person who is sincere. He can practice bhakti. So therefore, we have to learn the attitudes. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends upon the attitudes. What are the attitudes of a sincere devotee? Because this has been often seen that when too many devotees are working together, devotees start thinking that my devotional practices depends upon certain mundane factors, certain bodily qualifications. And one starts getting affected by the peer pressures. But it depends upon the attitude which anybody can have. Then what is the behavior of a devotee? Very important. What is the major characteristic of his behavior? And then we have his character. What are the characteristics of his life? How does he live his life? What are the daily practices? So character. What are the components of his character? And then we have direction. Whose direction does he follow? Because that is also an important favorable principle. Just like a wind favors the movements of a ship. Similarly, here is some directing principles which favors the bhakti of a sadhaka, for practicing devotee. Keeping that in mind, let us see what is attitude. Under attitude, we have the first 3 of the 6 principles. The 6 principles we already discussed in one of the first slides of text 3. As the verse says, Utsahan Nishchayat Dhairyat Tattat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyaga Satovrite. So the first 3 are Utsahan, Nishchayat, and Dhairyat. Utsahat refers to patience. Nishchayat is confidence, which makes you enthusiastic, and then patience. Like that. This is the attitude. Then, what is the behavior? Of course, before going to that, this attitude, all these qualities are discussed in great detail in this purport. So we will be discussing that as our session flows in this section or next section, some qualities. But before going to these first 3 very important qualities, we will cover up the other 3. which comes in the category of B, C, and D. What is B? Behavior. What is the behavior of a Vaishnava, of a devotee, a practicing devotee? What should be the behavior? Sang Tyagat. So the fifth quality in the verse says Sang Tyagat, giving up the association of non-devotees. Very important. We already discussed a lot about this in the previous verse, Janasangas, rejecting the worldly minded people. Here also it says giving up the association of non-devotee. In fact, Nectar of Devotion describes, quotes, that how it is preferable to embrace a tiger or a snake, or even embrace a snake, but one should avoid the association of non-devotee. Because the physical contact with tiger or snake will at the most kill your body. But contact with a non-devotee, contact with the worldly minded atheistic people infected with atheistic or Mayavadi contamination, it will kill your seed of bhakti. It will stunt the growth of bhakti. So therefore, this is very important. Sang Tyagat, give up the association of non-devotees. Very important. What are the categories of undesirable association? In the previous verse, also in Janasanga, we discussed we have to give up Bhuktikami, Muktikami, and Siddhikami. Those who are running after material opulences, those who are running after liberation, and those who are running after mystic benefits. Similarly, here we have Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis, or other non-devotees. Karmis are those who are looking for material enjoyment. One should be very careful, because material whirlpool is very powerful to suck one into the pool of material enjoyment. Even little association is full of temptations. They do not understand that the material enjoyment is like a flickering drop on the lotus petals. It doesn't stay long. Jivana talamal kamala dal jala bhajau haripada niti re bhajau re man Shri Nandanandana abhaya charanara vindare. So one of the poets have very nicely sung that they are running after material enjoyment, but the whole life is like a drop of water which doesn't even stay for a second on the lotus petals. It just slides off. Karmi. And then Gyanis. What is Gyanis? Gyanis are those who are looking for liberation, or who are trying to understand Krishna or the absolute truth with their small logic and interpretation, and thus getting more and more bewildered. So they are speculators or liberation lovers. So coming in association of speculators, when we are not fully fixed up, we are still not purified, is very, very dangerous, because our mind is already full of so many doubts. Our intelligence is already afflicted. One of the function of intelligence is doubt. And these jnanis water that doubt even more. And as a result, it becomes even more difficult to have Shraddha or faith. Faith comes from the association of devotees. So jnanis challenge our faith. And they give all kind of speculations, and not really able to just submissively serve Krishna and not speculate about Krishna's personality, Krishna's name. So very important to avoid. They have their own philosophies and ideas, not believing in parampara, just submissive oral reception and service attitude. Yogis, they are always tempting us. Who are the yogis? Their goal is mystic yoga, for the mystic siddhis, perfections. So coming in contact with the yogi, just like we see some perfectionist, and immediately the desire comes, I wish I could have that perfection. if a group of managers is sitting in a seminar where some senior manager is giving wonderful presentation, and he's a leader, so he's thinking, I wish I can be opulent like him, or I can have such skills like him, the way he does things. Because the whole motivation is how you can become more skilled and efficient in the material world. So hearing from such people or reading their books, which trains us how to become more efficient and skilled in manipulating material energy. Such kind of novels, books and guiding authorities always mislead people from the path of bhakti, where we depend upon Krishna's potencies, where our strength comes from service to Krishna, and all the work is done by Krishna's potencies, not by us. Like that. So yogis take us away from dependence on Krishna and other non-devotees. Who are the other non-devotees? Anybody who takes us away, karmakandis and different kind of people who takes us away, mayavadis, who take us away from the principle of devotion. And then we have supporting verses for Sang Tyagat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the behavior of a Vaishnava. Asat Sang Tyaga, a Vaishnava Achar, one who gives up worldly association, is the behavior, as it is written here, the behavior of a Vaishnava is he gives up worldly association. Of course, we have been taught by Acharyas that giving a worldly association is just like being in the world but not of the world. It's like you are doing all your duties perfectly but still you do not give your heart to them. Giving a worldly association. One may interact with the world around us but still do not take what they have to offer us very submissively. One may do the needful but do not open the heart to the submissive, in the submissive mood, submissive to all the opulences and the comforts and all the ideologies which they have to offer to us. So one who gives up the association of karmis, jnanis and yogis, the intimate association. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam describes in one of the chapters in the 3rd canto that one must be having a very friendly attitude to all living entities. But Bhagavatam clearly says friendly attitude does not mean intimacy. Friendly attitude is different, intimacy is different. One should be kind and friendly because that's an important part of devotional service. But one should not be intimate with them. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakur prays, Tadera Charan Sevi Bhakta Sanevas Janame Janame Hoy Abhilash. One aspires to live in the company of pure devotees. That is the only aspiration. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. In the association of devotees, the topics of Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes very pleasing to the ear and to the heart. So live in the company of such pure devotees. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koe, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Sadhu Sangha. Every scripture and shastra is telling, please take the association of devotees. Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha. Even if small association of a fraction of a moment, Sarva Siddhi Hoy can give you the ultimate perfections. So behavior of a devotee should be give up the association of worldly people and take the association of devotees. Then we have the character. Then we have the character or behavior. Then character, yeah. Do's and don'ts. As we already discussed, what are the components which comprise the personality of such a person? What are the components? Tat karma pravartanat. Not remain idle, but be enthusiastic about executing regulative principles. Not remain idle, but be enthusiastic. So, tat karma pravartanat is the 4th item in the Sanskrit verse. Utsaha nishchayat dhairyat tat tat karma pravartanat. What is the life made up of? Such kind of activities. Not remain idle, but be enthusiastic about executing regulative principles. In fact, when we talk about idle, a devotee's main concern is how to engage every moment in Krishna's bhakti. Does not want to waste even single moment. Wasting any time in prajalpa, television, newspapers, idle gossips, novels, crossword puzzles, which have nothing to do with service of Krishna, is draining the vital energy of human life. Therefore, one cannot waste his time, remain idle and perform prajalpa or atyahar or prayas as per text 2. But one should be enthusiastic. Enthusiastic means at every moment trying to purify one's heart and create a revolution in one's heart by applying the principles of bhakti, about executing regulative principles. When Narad Muni, after staying in the service for Chaturmas, 4 months, in the service of the great souls, when he left home and his mother passed away, all the time his only contemplation was the Vani, what the great Bhakti Vedantis have spoken in their discussions. And because of contemplation of that Vani, he got darshan of the Lord and he could experience the close association of the Lord. So similarly, one should be enthusiastic about executing all the principles and never remain idle, always thinking how to purify one's heart. What are the regulative principles? We have 4 prohibitions, yama. These 4 things should not be done. No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat eating. And then we have positive regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds and many positive devotional activities centered around deities, devotees, holy name, Srimad Bhagavatam. So all these niyama should be there. Yam and niyama. Niyama means on a niyamit, on a regular, on a consistent platform. One chants 16 rounds. Again, it's a commitment. When we say character means he has an integrity of commitment. He commits to it lifelong. As we already said, bhakti is not a sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Bhakti is not something, the love is not something which is going to erupt in the heart in one day. One has to work on the unclean heart, purify it. And we also discussed that anyone who is sincere can do it. So what is the qualification of sincerity? What is the meaning of sincerity? Means consistency, niyama, regularly. He is chanting 16 rounds. He is trying to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and purify himself. Otherwise, how will one give up one's base atheistic mentality, which he is carrying since ages, since years, since lifetimes of mundane contamination? So therefore, character means taking very seriously regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. Visiting holy dhams, taking the association of devotees, chanting holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping the deities, like that. Tat tat karma pravartana. This is all about tat tat karma pravartanat. And then we have direction, satovrite, the 6th item in the verses. So the 6th item in the verses is satovrite. What is satovrite? Following in the footsteps of the great souls. Very important. Following in the footsteps of the great souls. Actually, how do we attain Krishna? Nobody can reach Krishna directly. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, if somebody says, I am servant of Krishna, Krishna says, no, he is not my servant. But if somebody says he is servant of my servant, he is a real devotee. So you can only understand Krishna by following in the footsteps of great acharyas who have been serving Krishna in the mood of servant of servant. Only by becoming their servant when they lay down the path for us. So very important. People always think, oh, I want to be directly in connection with Krishna or Guru. But to serve the servants of Guru, to serve Krishna and to serve the servants of Guru is much better and a much higher platform. So Satovrite means following in the footsteps of great acharyas who show us how to perform bhakti. Srimad Bhagavatam mentions Mahajano yena gata sapantha. Mahajan are the great acharyas who have set standards of how to worship and please and satisfy Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one can only understand Shastras through the life of Mahajans. Because there are so many munis who are speculating of what Shastras are all about, what is the essence of Shastras. But by studying the life of great souls, one can understand how to apply Shastras. Therefore, if we study Srila Prabhupada's life, there are so many amazing literatures written by his disciples like Satswarup Das Goswami Maharaj and so many other disciples. They have written Srila Prabhupada's life story. So if you study and analyze those pastimes, one can easily understand how to apply Shastras in one's life. So therefore, following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Acharya Mam Bijaniyan, one knows Krishna through acharyas. Devotional service means transcendental activities, Vishuddha Sattva. So Vishuddha Sattva, transcendental activities or Vishuddha Sattva. Now transcendental activities or Vishuddha Sattva means no contamination by three modes. If we have to study something of this world, we can still manage to study. Because subject is within the three modes, we are in three modes, contaminated. But if you have to understand transcendental subject matters of devotional activities, how to perform this service, then that is not possible by one's imperfect senses. Because devotional service means Vishuddha Sattva or transcendental activities. Just like Arjuna was thinking violence is something abominable. But Krishna is telling in your case, if you commit violence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, that is not violence. That is the highest degree of non-violence. So sometimes you may think you are situated on the highest understanding of spirituality, morality, goodness. But Krishna may think, no, that is the lowest quality of abominable nature. So therefore, what is transcendental and what is goodness? To understand that, one has to follow in the footsteps of acharyas. Then we have expertly filled 24 hours with devotional activities, just like we have the whole morning program. So 24 hours are filled by acharyas. Srila Prabhupada made such a package, the morning program in each ISKCON temple. First there is Mangalarti where we see the deities. So we take darshan of the deities. It's all about deity worship. Then we have japa, chanting of the holy names in the association of devotees. Temple is non-different from a holy place, so staying in the holy place. Then studying Srimad Bhagavatam. These 5 most potent practices, chanting the holy names, studying Bhagavatam, association of devotees, deity worship, and staying in the holy dham, are all present in the morning program. And then if you see, the whole morning program involves all the senses. Eyes are focused on the deities. The nose is getting nice aroma out of the altar. Ears are hearing the sound vibration. Tongue is chanting the sound vibration. You are touching, you are with all the devotees dancing, or maybe dressing the deities. All the senses are fully absorbed. This system is given by acharyas, like all the Goswamis, and for us, founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. Satovrite means following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. Like that. So therefore, expertly filled our hours, 24 hours with devotional activities. Also, Srila Prabhupada said, what we have is a sandwich program. What is sandwich program? In the morning, we have the whole morning program with Mangalarti, Narsimha Arti, Japa in the association of devotees. then Shringara Darshan, then Guru Puja, where we worship the Guru, spiritual master. Then we have Srimad Bhagavatam class. Like that, we have systematically many activities. And not only that, the whole day we go for services, preaching, book distribution, temple deity services, and in the evening come back and together discuss Shastras. Maybe in your preaching program or in the temple life. So morning there is sound vibration, evening sound vibration, the whole day services, sandwich program, which keeps you protected from the material energy. Expertly filled our 24 hours, how to put us in touch with Krishna, who is all pure and all perfect. Ishopanishad says, Shuddham apap viddham. So therefore, just association with Krishna purifies you of all material contamination and prevents any further material contamination. So therefore, one has to learn this art by following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas and understanding what are the absolute principles and how we can live our life based on those principles. Then we will study enthusiasm. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupa Goswami ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.